Welcome back to the Blindsiders. I am Ben, and I'm joined by Dylan and Brian to talk about episode number 6 of Survivor 45. It's we're still doing the Murgatory thing. We're still doing Earn the Merge. We're still pretending like this isn't just a normal merge vote with half of the tribe immune, and that's where we're at. Crazy episode. I don't know if the season keeps on giving kind of heat so far. I don't know what you guys thought.
I think it's working out for the best because I think that it's remained entertaining. I was telling Brian before we got on, I'm starting to see some cracks happen with production. I'm still like I hate the faux merge, not real merge. I hate it. I've always hated it. And it also seems like based on previews, we're potentially just not getting another straightforward tribal for at least another episode. So that kind of stinks, but really entertaining. Luckily for us, I think the weakest cast member left was eliminated, which is good for us as a viewer. But I agree, 2 thumbs up. And I also just want to thank you, Ben, for calling in from the ISS. I'm just happy we can get a connection up to you over there.
Yeah, the half-hour delay because of my technical difficulties.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it as well. Obviously, very exciting that we've seen. Listen, I know there's been another shot in the dark played that was safe, but that person wasn't going home. So in my book, this is the first successful shot in the dark. Very exciting. Record number of negated votes. How you feel about this versus Kelly Wentworth's, idol play in Second Chance is really up to you. What do you prefer? Because there is a lot of luck that went into this as well for Caleb. But I was entertained, and I'm fine with this. And I've always been fine with Shot in the Dark, and I think this is, proof as to why it is, a good twist, a compelling one.
Shot in the Dark in theory is great when it's used correctly, which here it was, it was electric television. So I'm sure the production feels that everything is vindicated too with Shot in the Dark. Because like you said, the one time it's been used, it was not used correctly when it was successful. So it was in it to have literally every single vote against you and to have it successfully played, like you said, a lot of luck. Caleb was saved by Emily again, in my opinion, but still just electric television. And unfortunately, I didn't watch this live. So I had known going into it that Tribal wasn't going to just be cut and dry, because on the face of it, if I had not known anything, I would have thought Caleb was the one going home. Even then, with like some meta knowledge, it was still just really, really entertaining television. And a lot of people, I was telling Brian before this, I discovered that like 5 other people that I work with are huge Survivor fans because they were talking about how great that episode was. So I think that's a testament to Survivor's not all the way back, but to have people in the workplace talking about it like that again is great to hear also.
Definitely. And I want to hammer out for the show, for our usage. Do we want to say you use a Shot in the Dark correctly when you play it, when you're getting voted off, but you use it successfully when you get it? Like Zach Ortenberger, he played Shot in the Dark correctly. It just didn't work out. It was unsuccessful. The merge boot, Sydney on 41, she used it correctly. It just didn't work out. Right.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think there's a couple other examples as well, but as opposed to the only other time safe was Red in the Parchment, which would be Jamie last season.
Where in my book she used it incorrectly, but successfully. I don't know. Ultimately, doesn't matter.
I would say successful is like an and, where you have to both use it. It's
Yeah, okay, that makes sense.
Because I think it's an idol, right? If you play an idol but didn't receive the maximum or the majority amount of votes, then you wasted the idol, right?
Right.
She successfully wasted the shot in the dark.
There's the situation too, is that if you play it when you didn't need to, and you're completely just like messing up a vote too, which I can't recall.
Matt did that.
Yeah.
On that same tribal council.
Yeah, well, that tribal council was a mess. So that's why we had oh my god, what's her name? It's not Molly. What was it? The first boot of the season, or I guess the second boot technically.
Maddie? Was that her name?
Maddie, yes, Maddie, yeah. Maddie went home with 1 vote against her.
Yeah, it was Brandon
3-vote tribal council, and Brandon idled out 2 vote. Like it was messy because everyone used to shop.
Was there a Matt, a Matthew?
It was Matthew.
Yes. Yeah, Matthew and Maddie
and Matt. Right? Or is that the same season? They're all blur at this point.
They all go together. But yeah, just 2 Matts. 1 Matthew, 1 Maddie.
Regardless,
I just wanted to like hammer that in so that I know when we're talking about it in the future what to call these. So
this was the first successful use of a shot in the dark.
Yeah. So anyone else, you can call it and use it however you want. On this show, that's how we're going to be using it.
It's like it's pretty much as crazy as you could use one. Like merge vote cancels literally every single vote, forces a revote. I mean that's like the dream, right, for the producers.
Yeah, and it's so funny because like I didn't in the moment, I was like, okay, idol like sucks for Jay, she's gonna get idled out, but then it's like, oh wait, yeah, no, he had to sacrifice his vote. So it's just going to be a revote. That's crazy. And then I get very scared for Emily. Immediately after, like I was like, yes, and then I was like, oh no.
Yeah, no, I had the same kind of thing. I think the producers kind of leaned into it too, where it seemed like Emily was also really worried, and they like zoomed in on her face and played this like really somber music. I was like, at what cost? No, but yeah, I mean, it was like, I think the storytelling was really, really good. And I think that it also gives some insight into why J Maya has had like a really weird edit so far, because like the producers, of course, do not want people to leave this episode feeling like super bad for her, because then they'll be like, oh, the twist sucked and she got screwed. So they like had to, give her like the bare minimum of content to like, make you feel something, but like still make you happy with the result.
I think they also definitely played up Austin being upset about the sandwich, because you hear it mentioned probably about 20 times this episode.
Yeah, I think somebody made a joke like, who's talked about food more, Austin about the sandwiches or Angelina about the rice?
Oh, good point. I want to say Jerry about the Hershey bar, if I had to say someone. But I think it's like a fine twist. I feel bad for Jay. I would be upset if I were her, to say the least. But she's handled it well in all the exit press, where she's kind of taken the approach of like, that was pretty cool. Like if I had to go out, it was a pretty like cool way to go out, which I think is the right way to look at it at that point.
I can't imagine a worse scenario as a player though, when you know that you're the backup vote going into that clearly, and then to have that happen and have everybody celebrating around you basically as you quickly see like surely your game is done for. So I do feel bad in that sense. I don't feel bad, whereas I don't particularly think she was a good player, like we said, just based on the edit we've seen and things she said. But who knows if that's edit related or just for her. I do think that there is something to note, though, of why Reba decided to throw her under the bus so quickly here. That I think will potentially be a mistake down the road. Because don't get me wrong, I almost think that Caleb was 120% the correct vote to go here. I think putting my bias aside, it made a lot of sense. I don't know. All I know is that the Emily train keeps all steam ahead. If there's a winner's edit, I think she's definitely getting it right now. And also on the reverse side, I mean, the only two people I feel like are getting the potential edit, at least in my eyes right now, are Caleb and Emily. And I think Caleb's game would have to be almost an all-time save for him to win at this point, because when you have a unanimous vote against you at the merge, to flip that and to go in to win it would be extremely impressive. And what Emily was able to do tonight, both saving face a little bit with Caleb while also proving her worth to everybody else, that's some real G winner shit. And I think she's like really just doing everything correctly at this point. It's just really impressive. And I got into a debate with my brother too of whether or not Caleb would still want to work with her after. And I think, because my initial reaction was no. My initial reaction was that, she saved him twice now, and it was almost a tip of a cap, like we need to go our separate ways. But I almost kind of think that might be one of Caleb's only path forward, is either to somehow finesse his way into the hatred that I think Bruce is eventually going to start getting from everybody outside of Katura. But then also, I think Emily proved a lot to everybody else here. And I really hope that they do find a way to continue working together, because I think that storyline wise, it would just be remarkable to see where they were at Lulu to then get there. But for Caleb, I think that his game from here on out would have to be an all timer, because I think that he's in a really bad spot after this week.
Yeah, I think in my mind, I imagined that it was more like Caleb was like, all right, I'm going to play my shot in the dark. Don't worry about like voting with me. Like, don't sink your own game for me. I don't know if you guys felt like that was a possibility.
Yeah, that's my read as well.
Because there was nothing else she could have. That's why it was so smart.
She could do.
Because how many times have you seen before somebody overplay their hand in that position and try to save an alliance member and end up just putting a bunch of spotlight on themselves? Like we've seen that happen so many times before. So to see someone do that correctly is just very impressive. I don't know where in terms of her meeting with the numbers is. I don't know if it's if she's now with Reba, if she goes to Bella. I don't know about that. I'm assuming it's with Reba, whatever those numbers are, because like I said, getting rid of J Maya, I think might have been a mistake at this point for them to so easily throw her under the bus. Especially when, last episode they were so convinced on Sifu being such a huge threat and wanting to get rid of him when they had 3 Reba members there. So I don't know what changed. I don't know what changed with that. Obviously, Sifu was immune, so obviously that doesn't apply here. But they're pretty hell bent on getting rid of 2 people outside of their own numbers. Where I think J Maya and Sifu would have been pretty loyal to Reba. So I think that's a pretty severe misplay, I think, by Julian and Dee and Austin and Drew. Although, like I said, I think Austin had his own vendetta against her, but I mean, he did the right vote at first. Obviously, once again, the fact that it was a unanimous vote and with the shot in the dark played is just so fucking insane. I wish I watched it live and didn't have any sort of like meta insight, because that is just crazy. And I really liked them just leaving it open to interpretation. Like you said, Ben, the way the storytelling was done here was just so well done.
Yeah. On that line, the Survivor Twitter account needs to fucking chill, please, because they shared the clip of Kelly digging the idol up in Second Chance from under the shelter this week. Why would they do that other than someone finding an idol in the shelter? And then right before the episode, they posted a clip of the intro, but just the part where it showed the shot in the dark Easter egg. Is like, stop. I don't want that. Am I gonna have to unfollow the CBS Survivor to not be like somewhat spoiled?
Yeah, it reminds me of when in Blood versus Water, they spoiled the rock draw in the
preview
promotions.
for the next episode. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that was like Thanksgiving weekend or
Mhm.
week. And so like the next day at Thanksgiving, I was talking to my aunt and watching it like, guess there'll be a rock draw in the next episode. Like
Mhm.
seems kind of pointless to, watch the strategy session after the challenge, but still a really good episode.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, luckily I didn't see that. I did notice the shot in the dark Easter egg in the preview, which like it seemed pretty clear to me that Caleb was going to play a shot in the dark, and I was like relatively confident based off of like the way that he's been presented as a player that he was going to get it, but like obviously not 100% confident. Also, I was looking at the runtime and I was like, they don't. Like, what are they doing with the last 10 minutes here after he gets voted out? Like, obviously, there's more of the content they have to get through. So it makes sense there to be another vote.
I just want to say, Survivor, spoilers aren't Easter eggs. References to previous seasons would be Easter eggs, but, twice now they showed the amulets and now that's just a, like, preview.
Yeah, it's just a spoiler.
Yeah, just a spoiler. Like, when they said they were going to be Easter eggs, I thought they were going to be like, we chopped in one shot from a previous season's intro or something like that. But no.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess we could talk about the Bruce thing because that's really the only other like major part of the episode besides this kind of Caleb storyline is Bruce finding this idol. This was like the only part of the episode that I didn't like, just because it felt so. One, it felt rushed, and two, I was like, "Wait, why does Bruce have a normal idol when the other two camps didn't have a normal idol? Is this like a post swap thing? They got changed out for like better idols, or what?"
Yeah, I guess if your idol gets used or flushed, then the next time it comes back into the game.
Well, this
is the second Lulu idol, right?
No, because this was on. Was this on Lulu's? Oh, was this like was this Abaya's rehidden idol?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think the Bello idol ever got found.
No.
Or at least he didn't show us. Maybe it's not pertinent to the story. I know they've edited out some advantages in a couple of the last few seasons, but yeah.
I think the interesting thing with Bruce is because I've been saying I don't really understand what Bruce's game is at this point or what he's doing.
He doesn't even know.
I think that they're shaping him up to be a villain of sorts now going forward. Which I think is great because they definitely the way that they basically showed that he's playing the two-faced game of smiling in your face and then trying to cut your throat in the back, which is great. Because I've been begging for like a real villain. I don't think that he is like a villain to go up against like the all-time villains of Survivor, but I think it's definitely something that will warrant going forward. I think him having an idol, because I agree. I think him being able to find an idol so simply compared to everybody else definitely sucks, but it's also like it's great that we're not just getting shenanigans around an idol. They have an idol and that's it. So that's good. But I it will be very Katara will feel very validated once people I think start seeing that Bruce is such shit. So I think that's cool. But yeah, it's I don't know. I'm glad it's taking shape. I think the edit he's getting is definitely that he's going to be humbled at some point, and it's going to be very, very satisfying for the rest of us. Once again, I feel like we're getting alternate universe, like Bizarro Bruce. Like we're getting like Bruce before the head injury was probably like such a sweetheart. Like it was going to be like the, like we said, he was probably going to be first boot anyway, but he was going to be like just like those like dad goals, and then now it's we have our villain of the story for this season. It's like it's his villain arc.
Yeah, I think we have like this kind of dissection of Survivor like meta strategy too, and this Caleb versus Bruce way of looking at things, where like Caleb points out Bruce's strategy is archaic, which I agree with, and then like Caleb then runs it to multiple other people, and they also seemed to agree with Caleb. And I do think that, like, especially in this era of shot in the dark, I think this episode was almost like a stamp on the way that Caleb looks at the game being correct, because the reason that Caleb was able to make this play is because they didn't blindside him, which is the whole point of the shot in the dark being introduced, is like the producer is basically pushing everybody to get blindsided. And the whole argument from Bruce was, no, you don't have to talk to the other side and talk to all these other players. There's no reason to just like hunker down with your people and get a majority and then, just chill. But that doesn't work, because if you project to the person who's getting voted out that they're getting voted out, then they can save themselves, which is what Caleb did. So by Caleb saving himself, he proved to Bruce that Bruce's way of playing is incorrect.
Mm-hmm. I will say, if I was on the island, I find myself, I would probably, as a traditionalist, would definitely be going Bruce's route of being like, hey, let's just make this easy. Like you said, it's especially in the new age, it just that has never gone properly, and especially with the shot in the dark, which has been really hit or miss. I think overall, now that we've seen it used successfully, I think it's it's a positive for me. I think overall, I'd maybe prefer for it to be out altogether, along with a lot of the other advantages. But I think seeing it used successfully for the very first time was very, very satisfying as a viewer. Still begging for kind of like traditional Survivor, but yeah, I think you made a good point, Ben, that it really kind of eliminates that like gang up bully mentality that it allows kind of a flash, literally obviously a shot in the dark for them to play it. I do wonder how voting would go differently at all, though, in this scenario with it completely removed. I wonder if it would have been Caleb unanimous or if would have went to J. I don't know. But it was cool. It was cool seeing it successful. That was a ramble. I didn't know where I was going with that. I liked it. I'm glad it was played out.
It's just like a perfect storm of like people being kind of nervous about the first vote, with two tribes of people who are not super, game savvy yet. A bunch of people, this was their first tribal, and for 4 others, it was their second. And then half of the tribe, well, more than half of the tribe was immune. So Bruce's like, off-puttingness couldn't actually bounce back on him at all. So I think like Caleb was kind of like a little bit of a victim of circumstance there, where it's just like, well, Caleb's running around a lot, we should just vote for him. And people are like, there's not a lot of options, so why not? And like, he's also the least connected player in terms of like the starting tribes. Like, yeah, he had all of Bello, except for 2 people on his Lulu tribe, but they ultimately stuck together. So, I don't know if Caleb would have been the merge boot target if everyone was available for it, but like it just kind of happened to break that way, which is like unlucky for sure. I just also don't get the idea that like, I don't know why I have second chance. Oh, probably because of the Kelly Wentworth idol thing. I have second chance on the mind, and like that was 9 years ago, 10 years ago now. And we were having this discussion of old school versus new school play then. Like, I don't know why Bruce showed up on Survivor 45 and was like, this is the strategy that will work long term. It worked for this vote, and it was impressive for him to rally 11 people to vote for Caleb. But I don't see why he would assume this style of Survivor would work anymore,
Yeah, no, I don't know. It's like I said, the entire purpose of Shot in the Dark existing is to force you to play a certain way that creates more, dynamic TV in theory, right? It doesn't always work out, but that's like the theory behind why they've introduced it clearly. And so like to be like, no, that's not how you're supposed to play. Let's play like, this is 2007. It's like, no, that doesn't really work. You can't really do that. Yeah, like this is obviously an example. Like you have to keep the person who's going home at least like somewhat in the dark if you want to have a guarantee that they go home. And you have to have like a cogent backup plan. And I guess they did have a cogent backup plan with J Maya, so like it wasn't that big of a deal. But like if you're like Kelly, right? Like all it takes is one person, like all it takes is like an Emily or a J Maya to throw a vote on Kelly to be like, just in case, and like you're gone if the shot in the dark works. So like there's like so much unnecessary risk for multiple people here.
That's why I wonder why Reba never brought up the idea of splitting it between J Maya and Caleb if they were still hell bent on getting J Maya out.
I think they didn't trust the Bellows.
But even if they're going on their own way, if they're under the influence that that Caleb is going to be majority vote for everybody else, because I do think that I mean I guess not, because that would have only mattered say if Caleb or J Maya played an idol, which clearly neither of them had and neither of them did play, of why they would have did that. But I for me it just doesn't seem smart going completely unanimous on one person there, unless they were all like just so convinced Caleb did not have an idol at that point. And obviously they didn't plan for Emily basically kind of like warning him that it was going his way. But I do keep going back to that I do think that out of all the players, I think the Reba tribe, I think definitely got their, because Drew and Austin, I don't know, I still think they're playing a good game, but like D and Julie, like they were such a shit show last week with everything with Sifu. I do think that it's kind of coming to light though that maybe the strategy there isn't the best. I don't know. I can't imagine this tribal though if it went the way of it being unanimous vote with Caleb not having a successful shot in the dark, of how different our conversation would be at this point, of just how fucking stupid shot in the dark is at this point, where like every time that it is properly used, it never is successful. So I am really glad that it was used. I'm sure they were, that it was finally used successfully in that way. I'm rambling and I don't know where I'm going.
Well, I think, to talk about second chance again, because Kelly's 9 votes, right? That's what she negated on hers. You only can get like these huge numbers of deflected votes when you have a group that trusts each other enough to vote with each other, but don't trust each other enough to split votes. And it's like such an interesting, like, almost like truce, where it's like none of us have the intention of going that far together, but we can all agree that we don't want it to be us. So we're just going to vote together now. And then, because this isn't an alliance of 11, this is just a bunch of people who had a common interest of staying in the game. And, I just think that's really an interesting part, and why, like, I mean, I guess it can be topped if someone deflected 12 votes, but this is probably the highest end of negated votes we can ever get.
Yeah, I think this record would be unbeatable.
I think it also shows to the knowledge that Emily and Caleb have learned, though, being to multiple tribals at this point compared to everybody else who hasn't, is that it now I think that they're in like pure survival mode at this point, whereas everybody else, it seems like we're gonna just start getting this is where people have been making mistakes previously, is that everybody's gonna start trying to make that super big move now. And it seems like, at least on the face of it right now, that Caleb and Emily being in survival mode is going to potentially save them going forward, of not overplaying that big move early, and which goes back into Reba wanting to get their own tribe mate between Sifu and J Maya out, of making that big move way too early, which Sifu for sure was that big move way too early. That's why I really, really like Emily and Caleb. I think Caleb, like I said, has a really shitty path forward from here on out. But Emily is, I don't know. Emily's game is just it's such an interesting thing to me, both from like a narrative perspective and just a fan of Survivor perspective, of like she was so unlikable to me in the first like 10 minutes of the show. And literally every single thing she's done since then has just been an improvement on that. Like I said, it's literally like a Jaime Lannister story arc. I just hope she gets like the happy ending compared to him, where it's just complete 180 and she's like quickly just turning into one of my favorite recent players. And same with Caleb. I really like Caleb a lot. And I think that both of them being there at the end would just be super, super interesting. Caleb more so because he would really have that path forward, but Emily's like kind of just whole story arc from beginning to end is just phenomenal. And a lot of it is the 90 minutes too, because I think like a regular hour episode, I mean, I don't know narratively how it's different for Emily, but maybe we don't see the transition as much. Maybe they don't waste as much time on her kind of like going after Bruce in the beginning and like going against Sabaya. Like I just, it's that 90 minutes is really just playing in now to generally feel like you're getting to know these people. And seeing them both as like a reality contestant player and as like a character in this story. It's just so compelling. I just really, really hope it doesn't get messed up with like production overreaching, which is my biggest concern next week is with that. With it seems like we're going to be getting another split vote again, which I hate. I just hope we don't have a kneecapping because that completely took me out of last season with Matt. I hope it's done well, but I do despise the fact that we're probably not getting a legit tribal next week. Yeah.
Brian, your mic is
Sorry about that. I almost like quit watching Survivor after that. It's not that I like Matt, like he's fine enough player. But I just like really was like, what are we doing here?
Mm-hmm.
Like a player who's in a fine spot will just get voted off for like no reason. Like at least like I want to feel like there's a reason why people are getting eliminated.
Mm-hmm.
I think just having literally no control when you're in a good spot to then have that happen. When it like that's never been Survivor's MO to do that. You've always been like, if you're
going to have a shot in the dark either. Oh,
yeah, it's just it didn't make any sense. That's why I think it was so upsetting, so shocking. They were doing so well at that point, and then they shot themselves in the foot. With a player that I liked a lot. He wasn't my favorite player, but like you said, Brian, but I liked him a lot, and I thought that he was in a really good position. We had that story with Franny too. And it all spiraled after that too, because he goes out and Franny was either the next episode or the episode of their vote after that.
We lost celebrity Kane.
Mm-hmm.
That, like you said, completely took me out of last season. So I'm just praying that that doesn't happen this season because they are on such a good path forward with everything they're doing. And like I said, even the little things that they're doing that I don't like, the cast is picking it up so much for them that I think it would take a lot for them to screw it up at this point.
Yeah, I just don't understand why. Because like we joke with the Murgatory thing, but like we're merging at 13, right? With in theory the intent being that like post-merge votes, especially like the first half of the merge, are really interesting because there's so many people, there's so many moving pieces, so many interlocking relationships you have to juggle. And you're taking like two of those potentially interesting votes and just like throwing them at a wall and hoping that it becomes interesting. And it's like maybe like sometimes it creates more interesting tribal councils, but I feel like on average they're less interesting. So like I don't understand why we keep doing this. It's just
the only time they're interesting is like when there's a minority alliance versus a majority alliance and they do this split and one of the five is a majority of the minority alliance, right? Mm-hmm. Like right now, we don't know where anyone stands, really. Other than they were anti-Caleb and anti-Jay.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think Emily, you do in the sense that, like I said, she's in pure survival mode, and I think she's doing it really well at this point. Which also probably why maybe we feel most connected to her because it's like kind of clear of what her situation is at this point. But I agree that everybody else, it doesn't seem like maybe outside of Austin and Drew, it doesn't seem like there's any like true like lock solid alliances. Like I said, it seems like everybody at some point there is going to try to overplay their hand and make a big move too soon. That's like the vibe I get from a lot of them, which is, might not be the best gameplay, but I think it's just a matter of who's going to blow up first, which is super intriguing. But I think that's definitely why I feel the connection maybe to Emily and probably to Caleb too, is because like we've seen them just fighting for their life pretty much this entire time, and they're still standing. Emily more so though, like we said. I think she's getting that winner's arc, that winner's edit. I think I almost feel like she's like a lock for at least like top 5 at this point. Which recent seasons it seems like the best players have gone out top 5, maybe perhaps sometimes, but I don't know, something about her. I'm just like I said, just that whole story arc is just so interesting to me. It's great TV.
Yeah, and I mean, for me, like Emily, if Emily wins the season, like Dylan won't know the reference, but Big Brother 24 last season, we had Taylor Hale, and like her arc was like very, very kind of similar, where she had like an extremely rough first few weeks in the house, and like was basically a social pariah, and she ended up in like an underdog alliance that kind of flipped the game on its head, and then she goes on to end up winning the season. So like it's like a very kind of similar arc, where it's like the ultimate, like you couldn't write it better underdog story. And yeah, I mean, I think like right now, for me at least, the most narratively the best winner for the story it would be Emily, but like there's still a ton of season left, so we'll see.
Yeah, I mean it'll be interesting. It'd be cool to have a Taylor like, right, obviously very different circumstances. A lot of Emily's issues are more self,
Yeah,
but
Taylor didn't really do anything wrong.
Taylor didn't do anything. But Emily has been so great in the swap, fixing her image, and then even at the merge, she's trying to reach out to Bruce and be like, "I'm so sorry we got off on the wrong foot. I was like a jerk." It doesn't help with Bruce. He's very stuck in his ways, but at least she's like making the effort to be like, "Oh man, I recognize that came off really bad, and I'm sorry about that."
Yeah, no, it's very rare like that we get somebody who's able to correct their self-awareness so just like quickly. Like, because you usually like it's the opposite on Survivor, where the elements kind of make you the worst version of yourself.
Right.
And in this case, like the pressures of the game like forced Emily to be like the best version of herself. So it's really interesting.
Yeah, financial analyst Emily Flippin. I don't know if you've seen her Instagram, but she captions every single one of her pictures. That it's insane behavior, but I kind of love it. Yeah, if she wins, the thumbnail will just be a picture for her with that.
Doesn't she live? Does she live in Massachusetts now? Am I making that up? Is she in Massachusetts? Because I know, because obviously, what's his name and the other girl? I'm like drawing blanks on the name. Too late for me. Are from Massachusetts themselves, but I feel like she was one of the ones that
Jake
live.
And Kendra.
Yeah, are from Massachusetts, but I feel like she might be one that lives there, which would also be cool to have a fellow citizen of the state.
Sarcastic says DC.
Okay, not quite Massachusetts.
Yeah. Jake's enough Massachusetts for
Sure.
everyone.
Yeah. I used to, like I said, at first I thought maybe the accent was being a little overplayed, but he's done it so naturally now. It's so
now that guy's from Boston.
Yeah, no, not now. Also seeing again, Kendra is from Salem. Was like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
She has such big emotions. I love it. Like facial expressions and everything.
Yeah,
it's really great.
Oh, also speaking of, I was talking about like the Bruce versus Caleb kind of way of looking at the game. I thought it was a really interesting kind of like vignette with the conversation between Emily and Kendra, where Emily was like, "If you save Caleb, he'll be grateful to you, and he'll be forever grateful to you. And Kendra was like, that's not how Survivor works. And Emily was like, that's exactly how Survivor works. And
she's like, I'm living it.
Yeah, she's literally living proof of it, because Caleb put the work in to save her and to build a relationship with her, and now she's saved him twice.
Yeah, it's crazy that I noticed that as well. It's crazy that it's like, well, one, this is your first season of Survivor, both of you, but two, it's like you haven't really been to any tribals. You went to one.
Mm-hmm.
Like we said, Emily's lived more of the Survivor experience so far of the game, anyways.
Yeah, no, I thought that was interesting, because it was like, it was basically Kendra saying, no, your experiences are incorrect, Emily. So
I mean, we talk about it all the time, or maybe not all the time on this podcast, but just in general, saving someone on Survivor is so big. Again, second chance. Jeremy saves Fishback, and Fishback literally in that moment was like, I'm with you 100%, to the end,
mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's just human nature, right? To be like, oh my God, my game was over. You saved me. I'm with you. This is it,
yeah. I don't think it can be understated how much legit loyalty can pay off in the game. I mean, you look at Natalie. I mean, to go back to her almost her entire winning arc was out of almost pure revenge for Jeremy. Her biggest move was like a chef kiss revenge move for her. I think that, yeah, having someone that's truly loyal to you in the game. And like I said, I think Emily and Caleb are loyal to each other. Like I said, Emily 150% made the right move both ways. I think now I've talked myself into that too, because going out of your way there to save him would have been wrong. But yeah, especially down this stretch too, because I don't know. I think recent seasons at some point we've seen everyone's alliances or loyalties crack at some point. And it's pretty much been the undoing of their game almost. Even Jam and Carolyn. I mean, they were loyal to a point where, but I think towards the end they weren't. I don't know. It could be, not like they were at the beginning. Not like I bought into they were at the beginning. Which is also probably why though Jam won, was because he maybe got out at the exact right time and played his game outside of Carolyn's. But I'm going on a tangent, but I don't know. I agree. I think when you find someone that's truly loyal in the game, it's not all cutthroat and best interest for yourself. I think that, it really does go a long way once you find that person there.
No, I agree. I think last season was also the first thing that came to mind for me, is the TK3 proved that, especially in the new era, with the it's almost kind of wrapped around to where being I don't want to say blindly loyal, but loyal to what people would have perceived before to be a fault is just the correct way to play now. It's the only way you can actually have success long term. As you compare that to the season before, where you have Jesse cutting Cody in a way that made sense on paper strategically, but can't actually pay off because of the threat deletion kind of method that has become the meta of the new era. And the Tika 3 basically playing it down as long as possible, and then just having to be necessarily broken up at 4 because Heidi wins immunity, is just the way that you kind of, expect it to play. And yeah, I think that it would have been successful for Carson if he could have made fire. It ended up being successful for Jam. I think in hindsight, I don't know if Carolyn could ever have gotten better than third place because of the way that she was perceived by the other players, unfortunately. So I think that across the board, all of those players reached the highest amount that you could expect them to realistically get to on average, based off of loyalty.
Maybe that'll be Emily's challenge too this year, as if she does get it to the end. If she is kind of navigating in the back of just pure survival, I do wonder if maybe, I hope not, that there'll be the perception that she kind of just lucked her way or hung back long enough to be able to get there towards the end and didn't, because obviously we see as people watching it that she's playing a great social game. I just hope, because like I agree with you, Bennett. And my first instinct with Carolyn was that it sucked, and I think that there was a lot of bitterness on the jury where now maybe she just didn't do enough on the face of it to her tribe mates to show that she actually should have won it compared to Jam Jam. I just hope that doesn't have to happen to Emily, because like I said it 20 times during this podcast, but I think that her arc and the way that she's been framed in this story is just so compelling and so easy to root for and latch onto, that I just hope that if she does get to that point, that it's not something that's like held against her or anything like that.
Yeah, same here. We'll see. There's so much game left to play. Like, I can't even pretend to know what I'm talking about in terms of who's gonna pull this out. But I'm excited. The season's been good so far. Last night episode was really great, and my boy Jake, he was not safe. No one came for him. Does that mean people don't see him as a threat, or he's positioned well? Time will tell.
Yeah, I do think Kelly and Jake is like kind of a low key, kind of under the radar, like potential power pair down the line, but we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't really. There hasn't been a ton of like story investment in beyond like a couple of scenes, so we'll see.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Dare I say this? The season's been great. I think it's been better than good. I think it's been great so far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, two thumbs up through 6th episode. 2 thumbs up for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the quitters aside, it's been really, really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
And then those 2 moments, not great, but the episodes surrounding them, very good.
Mm-hmm. I think it's. I was gonna say I think a testament. I completely forgot about the quitters, so you just brought them up.
Yeah, well, right. I think Hannah quitting made the season better.
Much better.
Term.
Yeah.
Because it gave us the Emily arc. Because Emily would have gone home if she hadn't quit. So.
Yep.
And hopefully Sifu can equally deliver in terms of entertainment. He's such a ball of energy, and I feel very bad for him because he so desperately just wants to be part of something, and no one seems to be like extending their hand and be like, Sifu, yes, come with.
I think Jeff
lines.
I think you could tell he's one of the ones that Jeff loves.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean the rain scene was like a lot.
Yeah,
if I was on Survivor and somebody had that level of energy, it would just be too much.
I don't know where he gets it. He has unlimited like levels of energy. Even like during the challenge, he's like, being hyped. And it's like, dude, how? Like after not eating for 13 days, how are you like this right now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's all I have. I mean, Stickbug, definitely player of the week. Emily, a close second.
Sanctuary, how we feel about the Sanctuary? New look this season.
I didn't even notice.
Seems more like a permanent structure now.
The one place prize we really didn't spend a whole lot of time for like to get like new visuals and stuff. Got Stickbug.
Yeah, because there was no Applebee's.
Nope.
This is bad work by the marketing team Survivor to not get that partnership back, in my opinion. And you know what? Bad for Applebee's to not want to be included in such a good season of Survivor.
That would be, yeah. I mean, they were just had the whole cast drinking like those dollar Appleitas.
Maybe more of an Outback Steakhouse guy myself. That's the real classic.
You don't like Applebee's microwave garlic mash?
Listen, it looks great on the show, but not for me.
How dare you? Karishma's coming after you.
Applebee's, yeah, true. Applebee's is definitely like in my mind, like you're just shopping for Christmas for like 5 hours and you're like, I'm so fucking hungry. Where's something? Oh, Applebee's is right there, like across the parking lot. That's where we're going.
Or you're like on a road trip, but you're like not on a major highway. You're kind of like driving through like secondary roads and back roads, and you're like, okay, well, fuck, I need to eat. Is there a restaurant somewhere? I guess.
Yeah.
Like, it's open.
Yeah, it's open. That should be their slogan.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have nothing else. We're dragging it out at this point, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I got nothing else either other than, another fun week talking to you guys, as always.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yep. So you follow me at DJ Clubberlang on Twitter. Don't similar to what you said, though, Brian. I've just been like staying off Twitter as much as possible, especially in the event that I don't watch Survivor. I have to like avoid it like the plague.
Oh yeah. No, that would have been immediately spoiled for you.
Yeah.
You can follow me on Twitter at the Fake Me Mark, BMARR. Of course, we have the main channel, We Could Get Everything. We Could Get Sports. Been doing a lot of sports videos this week over there to make up for not doing any the week before. And then Slow News Week. I got a new video filmed, just got to edit it and put it up on there. So check those out. Ben?
Gigantic game for your Dolphins this week, being played at 9:30 in the morning, not in this country. So it's like arguably one of the biggest games of the year being played in Germany. So that's interesting.
Yeah. I feel like they were like, oh, hopefully this will be a good matchup, so we'll give it to Germany. And I was like, oh no, this might be a premier matchup. We should have had this on Sunday or Monday night. This was a huge mistake, but I will be awake. And either I'll be drunk at noon and happy, or drunk drowning my sorrows at noon. We'll see what happens.
Sounds like either way you'll be drunk, which is a conversation for another day.
Things are tough, all right.
I mean,
Words tough.
I'm not gonna like fault anyone for day drinking. You do you.
Yeah, listen. I'll be drunk. I'll have a nice buzz. I'll play Spider-Man because I haven't been able to play it too much since it came out, but it's been very fun what I have played. So it's gonna be a good Sunday afternoon, regardless.
Yeah, and for me, follow me on Twitter at Ben Sharon. I tweet, a couple times a month. At this point, like Dylan and Brian said, I don't really use the platform too much anymore. It's kind of dog shit. And otherwise, check out our stuff. Watch Devil's Plan on Netflix, please, so that we can get a guaranteed season 2.
I think I'm just gonna go back to posting in like the bodybuilder forums. Just like start contributing there again.
Yeah, just go there. That's the birthplace of many. The Do You Even Lift, bro? That from a bodybuilder. I mean, makes sense, but that was a big meme at one point.
Some of the best advice I've gotten from bodybuilder forums. So take that for
I love the meme of like the scrawny young kid like typing something that it's like a bunch of like bodybuilders like giving him really positive advice. Very good. That's just what I imagine. Yeah. Oh man. Well, thank you all so much for listening, and we will see you in the next one.